Hello fellow humans and welcome to the Madhouse. I'm Josh, to be honest I don't know who else you'd be expecting. Today I'm going to combine two videos into one. Fuck off. I'm going to review The Dead House by Kurtagich, and seeing as this is to do with Dawn, I'm going to do the book tag she created as well, which is to review a book using speech jammer software. The result can be quite humorous or not, depending on how well it works. I don't know how I respond to this stuff because I've never actually used one before. At least I don't think I have. I might have done years ago, but my memory's terrible. So I'll just pop in the headphones and I'll get started in just a moment. Right, where's the on button? How am I sounding? Am I being slowed and slurred in the slightest? I don't think so. I mean, it sounds like it to me, but I can't say what it's like from your side just yet. Anyway, let's begin. Now, Dawn, I'm going to address you directly. You are a sick and twisted woman. You need immediate psychological help, I reckon, or a book award. You can decide. To be honest, I think you'll probably favour the latter. I have notes. My memory's terrible, just go with it. In all seriousness, I am in awe of your writing. It is incredibly well done. I love the narrative style. Epistolary has always been one of my favourite modes of delivery in a story. What's a good example of that? The Colour Purple, for example. Epistolary is a story told through letters and notes, and now it's been expanded to include emails and texts. But it also has a few other things in it, which I really enjoyed. I rated it at... The story is about two girls, Caitlin and Carly. They happen to share a body. Carly is the one who's awake and in control during the day, while Caitlin is the one who's in control during the night. I have no idea how I sound. You know, I so want to pretend to be the Joker, but it sounds weird. Their parents died about 6 months or a year before we first see the beginning of Carly and Caitlin's story. They have been institutionalised essentially because some head psychiatrists and doctors think that she's crazy and she's suicidal and all of those things. They don't believe that she's really two people in one body. This is bloody weird. When they're not in the Madhouse, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to say Madhouse or asylum, no, psychiatric facility. They are in a school. A boarding school that specialises with troublesome kids and that kind of thing. And throughout the book we see them grapple with their relationship with each other, with their friends, and what's the other word? Demons. Within and without. And of course there's the disintegrating sanity of everyone, it would appear. It's quite good. I rated this at about, I believe, 4.5 out of 4. I rated this at about 4.5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Well, I put it as 4 because you can't do the 0.5 on the website. I'm adding the 0.5 now. The only reason it didn't get the full 5 is because it's horror. I'm not overly fond of the genre. To be honest, it takes an excellent book to get a high rating from me when it's not science fiction and fantasy. It's not as though I don't enjoy them, but they don't quite match them, especially the Practice. The Practice I hold in a category all of their own, but this is quite good. It's why it's on my shelves next to Neil Gaiman, V.E. Schwab and Ben Aronovich. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of horror, but I may be a convert now. The only horror I've ever really read before were classics, things like Dracula and Frankenstein, although Frankenstein is technically science fiction. YA horror could be good if Dawn's book is any sign of what it's like. I look forward to it. Something else that's quite interesting and fascinating is the Marla and the Grundy, which appears to be some sort of Scottish voodoo from the outlying eyelines. Eyelines? What's an eyeline? I don't want to find out what's on the islands. I mean, it's bloody creepy stuff and involves a lot of animal sacrifices and missing body parts, that kind of thing. And I had to do some research because I'd never heard of it before. And what I found, I couldn't find anything about it on the internet or in my Brewer's Dictionary of Phrase and Fable. So if it's not in any of those places or in my head, then it's probably fake. And I was quite pleased to find that I was correct in that when I got to the author's note. As a magical system, it is surprisingly logical. Everything is based on an exchange and nothing can be given for free. And it's also surprisingly honest. Even the dark ones. Well, not always. Even so, they're fucking creepy and fascinating. If you're into stories of magic, folk magic and dark magic, then read this. As for the ending itself, I have mixed feelings. Because it's the only ending that could really have happened, and it was also fantastic to read about Caitlin in the final moments. But, well, it's horror. I should never expect a happy ending. It kind of goes against the tropes of the genre. Rise, Lord Vader. Strong in the Force. Am I? No, that sounds freaky. And not at all like the Emperor. That was sort of like Yoda. I mean, I'm really impressed, Dawn, because I usually figure out where things are going from the offset. But I didn't. I'm still torn about whether or not there were actual demons or she was really insane. Which is why it's great, because we're not sure whether it's paranormal or psychological horror. And that, what's that word? That ignorance makes it more fascinating. I was disappointed though that I could not figure out who was... Well, I'm not finishing that sentence. After it was revealed, I've realised that, of course, it was obvious. How did I not get that? But until that point, I wouldn't have been able to figure it out. So, bravo, Dawn. Also, last thing I want to mention, yesternight. I love that word, I like it, I may have to use that. I mean, after all, that's how a word enters the vernacular. Take Shakespeare. A lot of the words he invented weren't used before then. For some reason, even Frenchwoman. Don't quite get that one, because she's a woman and she's French. Why not combine the two and make a Frenchwoman? I don't know. But it's wonderful. I would recommend this to most people, although probably not under the age of 13, unless you are a very good reader. I mean, I was a very good reader, so I probably would have been fine, but not everyone's open to such freaky shit. If you're a fan of fantasy, or of even thriller novels, then I recommend you give this a go, because you might be pleasantly surprised. I was. Not that I expected it to be bad, it's just horror's not my thing, I've said that already. Also, while it's on my mind, there was something Dawn and I wanted to mention. Sort of. She said she'd announce it in one of her videos soon too. We have set up a book... We've set up a Goodreads group thing to try and set up a booktube meetup. A place where booktubers can come together specifically just for people who inhabit this tube of books. And we want to get as many people involved in this as possible, because it's a good idea, because there's all sorts of things. There are things like gamer conventions, and there's VidCon as a whole, but nothing specifically for the bookish people. And that's what we want to do. We were thinking of going somewhere pretty central, so for the UK wise, London would make sense, but also Birmingham or Crewe, because they're fairly accessible from anywhere. Or if we wanted to expand it a little bit, we were thinking Amsterdam, because it's fairly accessible for anywhere within Europe. It's also lovely, has some excellent bookshops, and some people might enjoy the coffee shops. I don't know, I've not really wanted to try it myself, but I was having a conversation with my brother about this earlier. So that's it for today. What do you think? Was I any good at this, speaking with the speech jammer software? Because I've never used it. I have no idea. I really hope you pick up this book, because it is actually incredibly good, and It is my recommendation down here somewhere, to my right. No. To my left, your right. I'm not very good at figuring this out here. That spatial awareness isn't my forte, and with something that isn't actually here, it's even more difficult. As always, I hope you click like and subscribe and share, do all the things because they make me happy and they could even help me out. What was the other one I wanted to say? Have an inspired day. Don't stub your toes if you have toes. I don't know if you have toes. You probably do. And that's it. Cheers!